I read the
Yeah.
article and they was like, well, we got, you know, affluent people, like rich people. Then I look at the bottom of their graph and this is Esri, right? Esri is the demographic god, right? So I was looking somewhere on the map where they would show me the type of people that I was dealing with. It ain't even on the map. So rule number one, you don't write about an analysis and you don't include the data point in there, right? Like if you're telling me that it's people over 50, I should be able to click somewhere and see. So this graph right behind me, like I'm gonna blow it up so you can see it.
Yeah.
Like this is Shelby County. I'm gonna bring it up. Now this one isn't from the site, but if you go to the site, you'll see it. So let me turn my. It's gonna show up on my camera, but I'm gonna hide everything else. All right. So you see it up on the site now, right? I mean, you see it up on my camera.
What are we looking at?
This is Shelby County, right? So basically, you're looking at a graph of voter data, right?
What county?
This is Shelby County, right? This is where I live, right?
Tennessee. Got it.
Yeah, I graph this type of stuff all day long, ad nauseum.
Okay.
Ad nauseum, right?
Okay.
So you'll see this is turnout from the Shelby County election. We got 571,000 registered voters in my county. And I think turnout was like 300 some thousand, right? So there's obviously a smaller subset of what they're looking at, but nonetheless, the exercise is the same. And what I saw is they had, you see right here when I'm hovering my mouse at, shoot, let me click again. I'm hovering on this thing that says Esri, right? You see where I'm hovering? Where it says
yeah, the bottom right hand for us.
Yeah,
Okay.
look at the bottom of the article that says Esri, right?
Yeah.
So Esri has these layers where you can put on here, and you can just hover over one of these things, and they'll say searching. And what it's going to do is go tell me how much money people make right here. You see it?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go somewhere else. And I'm click. I'm say search this area, right? There. See the median income change, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna go to this orange, this purple area. And I'm gonna let it search, right? Memphis. So the median income in the area is 22,000, right?
How much
trouble? 22,000. That little area in Memphis, you know.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So they got this map. I mean, it's a really elementary map, but the fact that I think that's what they're using to kind of sell that what they did was somehow a sound analysis because they put a map up. But kind of do this stuff for like FedEx and stuff. So I'm not enamored.
So what are you saying with the map that they're looking at? They're trying to project something that is not necessarily true as they're pulling up this.
Well, they making it. It's a little embellishment there, right? So
what are they exactly embellishing?
So they saying that somehow because they showed you some swatches on a map that the people who rejected Donald Trump were affluent and Republicans. Like that, none of that map shows you that they're disaffected. Like they are using very subjective terms. All you see is a map with some shades on it. Nothing tells me that that's a Republican. you can deduce from it to say that they were highlighting and they filtered that they were Republicans, right? That's a fair point to say. But they said independent of analysis, said wealthier areas were more likely to project. But they showing you the whole fucking county. Like, sorry, yeah. I'm gonna be recording.
Well, no, it's okay. I like you can curse. Let me just can I read the article real quick? Because it's a quick read, and then we'll just kind of go right into that and stuff. Because what you're saying. All right, this is by Garrett Archer. Now, Garrett Archer is supposedly, who is this? ABC. He's their election expert. You know, and he was in the press room right in front of me, and he had a big set of binoculars on, and he was pointing to some other cuck. I forgot this other guy's name. About. You know, like trying to talk like they knew elections. I'm like, these guys don't even know what the hell they're talking about.
Yeah, these are just some graphs, man.
I mean, all right. Like, so let me write Garrett Archer, right? He wrote a new independent analysis of Maricopa County voter data indicates Republican-leaning voters in wealthier areas were more likely to reject Donald Trump in the 2020 election. contributing to the former president's loss in Arizona. What you're saying right now, and if you could speak clearly into the microphone so we can hear this.
So what area is wealthy based on the graph?
I don't know. He just put up some pretty colors that were really red, dark red.
I guess the darker they are, the higher the concentrations. I get that. But how many people is it?
I don't know. He doesn't give that analysis.
Right. You cannot tell me that I need to believe what you say when you can't even show me. Like, you gave me a map, and all the map is showing me is that there are some dark colors in Fountain Hills. They're the same. That same dark color is nearly everywhere else in the suburbs. It doesn't. I don't think it's the inner city.
So really, to tell you the truth, it's a useless tool that he's kind of putting up there, and this kind of projection that he's making.
Well, he's got a really powerful engine map. Like, this is the god of maps, and it's telling us nothing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it also speaks volume to the deep, dark kind of misinformation. I don't know, the fucking establishment likes to use that word, but how they really dupe the people. Like, they give you an image of something that makes you says, well, that makes sense. That makes sense. Affluent people who are never Trumpers, those sophisticated types. Yeah, I can see them not voting for Donald Trump, but really not have enough data in teeth behind it.
There is absolutely no data shown to come up with any of the conclusions.
So that's strike one. Now it says the analysis was that was strike one. Let's talk about it. You don't see it. Thank you so much, Benny. You look at this stuff religiously. You do this religiously. That's why I wanted to have you.
Right. Yeah. And then the second map is where I really got lost, right? Where they said, well, darker red areas in the interactive. I like that.
Interactive, the one that says disaffected voters or something.
Are you really saying it's only 360 people? Because if you're saying it's 360 people, they're saying it's 141 to 360. So let's say that there are 10,000 blocks on there. It's not, well, it's 1,000 blocks on there. Well, you say 14, we're at 14,000 people if you say that, right? So they're not, there's not 1,000 dark blocks, right? So no. I can't get there, man. I can't get there daydreaming.
Well, it's there.
Again, like this, I'm in my wheelhouse, right? This is actually my note. That's why I brought up my site so you can see it. Like, every number I click, like when you go to my site, every number I click, you're gonna get a number and every other correlation and causation to go along with it.
Oh yeah. So let me finish the article because it's small. So that's strike one, because we'll talk about strike two and strike three and all. And
then they striking percentages from it.
Yeah.
44%.
I mean, it's there for one reason. Let's put up some pretty maps and dupe the people. Hey, it worked with the Afghan papers. They said people in Congress didn't know, but during the Obama administration, they showed pretty graphs and colorful cycles and maps, and they were like, okay, let's keep funding this war.
I know how Esri works. If you want to get the actual data in there, you got to have a programmer to do that. So
yeah. All right. Well, he didn't do the work, and we got him. We caught him. You caught him, and I brought you on to catch him. So it says the analysis was conducted by a bipartisan trio of election retirees: Benny White, Lenny Moore, and Tim Halverson. The team said they embarked on their own auditing, hoping to debunk the myths about the Arizona election and restore the public's confidence in the voting process. Right there, Benny. They're not getting any new information from the audit. This isn't anything new. This has been like 6 months, right?
They ain't even getting close, right? Like, to say that this ain't debunking it for me. I'm sorry. Like, I am in a position of considerable familiarity. Like, I know what I'm looking at. There is no point. Like, yes, you're not showing me the actual voters, but you should be able to show me the precincts.
Oh yeah,
you should be able to. If you're looking at the cast vote record, which
that's what they're looking at now, right?
For the public, right? For the public, the cast vote record is only going to tell you totals, right? So the output is the only thing they're looking at, which is what you would have before you decide you want to do an audit.
Yeah,
and
this is old information.
You decide you don't want to do an audit. Those are already, like these guys are killer. I don't lend any credence to their analysis. I just can't get where they're going with it. Right? It's nice graphs. I mean, nice graphs. Nothing, man. I got
All right,
nothing.
but look. Number one, this is like, I would always tell my fam over here. I'd pull the Smokey from Friday. Why are you bringing up old shit? This is old shit. This cast vote record information been out since November. Now all of a sudden they had an epiphany and go, oh my God, there's the case.
I mean, basically
cracker.
they look. I am a absolute fan of Clear Ballot, right? Clear Ballot, they audit automatically all of Maryland, right? They do some really cool stuff with what they do. They basically run the ballot images back through for a first time for them, right? Let me get this thing off here. They run the ballots through for a first time, right? And they basically recount the election. If all we needed to do to restore confidence was look at the thing that nobody trusts, how's Clear Ballot making money? Why do we need Clear Ballot? Why? You just basically jettison the whole company, right? You basically say we don't need Clear Ballot to do its thing because we can just look at the cast vote record.
Yeah. Now, didn't they have a chance to look at the ballots? Didn't they make an offer to look at the ballots?
I think that the cast vote record from Dominion does give a link. I don't know if what they have is a link. I was able to, I don't know if I could say what, I was able to work, closely with Ken Bennett in Maricopa. He does have access to some data that can give you some very granular to the ballot image level. He does have that data. I've laid eyes on that. I do know. I don't think that these guys have that level of data, but
they don't. They're not being contracted out. They're not
right. I know Clear Ballot has the capability. Yeah, I know that Clear Ballot has the capability of getting that granular where you could get to those images,
but they don't have the contract. So
no, they don't. Yeah.
So they
want they want like $400 some thousand to do it. Right.
And they're pulling this shit out of their ass. So that's strike two. It's old shit. The maps are really nothing. You're just throwing up a bunch of hocus pocus.
Yeah. Show me the demographics. Show me the
post record. Right.
Yeah. There's way more data in that cast vote record to show me. You should be able to show me the precincts. You can show me the percent registered, the percent Democrat, percent Republican, percent African American. You should have a reasonable amount of demographic data where if you're telling me that I should look at 60,000, they are literally saying 60,000 people. If it's interactive, I should be able to get to that 60,000 people.
Yeah. Okay, let's finish this up too, because we gotta get to the next part. I want to read this rest of this article. White is a Republican operative, blah, 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 while Moore is blah, blah, blah. I like the way they got to say he's a Republican just to show like, yeah, again, it's just more Republicans are saying it's not the, executive that Clear Ballot an election and auditing firm. Their efforts were completely separated. Their efforts were completely separate from the Arizona state sanctioned audit conducted at the Veterans Memorial Coliseum. So once again, everything that you got to look at, everything that Doug Logan and Cyber Ninjas has, everything that everybody has, Ben Cotton, you know what I'm saying? All these guys, Clear does not have that information. They're just looking at the thing that the people don't trust to have an audit.
Right. The Clear Ballot,
did an independent audit team find?
Clear Ballot would not enter into a contract and then be like, oh, we're going to take the cast vote. No, they're going to generate the cast vote record again.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
All right, so it says, what did an independent audit team find when looking at the detailed Arizona voting data? Once again, it's old data. See their data-backed answers to claims about bamboo fiber ballots. So when they go back to the bamboo, so they're still trying to kind of put a dark cloud on this whole audit, illegal voting, using the whole kind of thing like, oh, it's illegal aliens voting. That's what these people are saying. They're racist. Don't listen to them. And error rates in a series of exclusive reports, which began tonight. That was on ABC. This is an article from a couple of days. So they're getting ready for some of these results to come in, Benny. And I think they're bracing.
It's like a hedge
bracing
or
for something.
Posture. Yeah, it's like a posturing.
Yeah, they're trying to get a narrative out there that's going to come back. I don't know. We don't know that. That's just guessing. It said, to begin this analysis, the trio obtained and poured over Maricopa County's cast votes record. Once again, is very old. A database that consolidates the results of a $2.1 million ballots cast in November. You can see the way Garrett's trying to spin this thing. Maps generated from the Maricopa County 751 precinct cast vote record data show high wealth precincts around Paradise Valley and Arcadia areas of Phoenix collectively had some of the highest numbers of committed Republican voters who did not vote for Donald Trump. These areas also tend to have residents with higher levels of education. So, and then he says, he shows the map, the dark areas, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, how many people is that?
Okay. So
Yeah,
what he's trying to say, Benny, is that people in Republican areas that were highly voting for Donald Trump, when it came to down ballot voting, they voted for the Republicans, but left Donald Trump blank. Now, historically, I want you to explain to the crowd to make sure it says not my biases. Historically, in a Republican area where a Republican gets a lot of individual votes, that is a story to tell. That means that the down ballot votes are going to be even stronger in that candidate's favor. Am I right or wrong for saying that?
Right. Now, I'm not content enough to speak for Arizona, but I've analyzed enough elections to see that this typically should trend the same way, right?
It's what?
It typically should trend the same way, right? There should be a trend. It shouldn't be like a polar opposite, right? It can, which it is, but that's going to be an exception. It's not going to be the rule. Let's say it that way. But I can't even get there. Like when I actually do this part for a living, right? When you tell me that high concentrations, you're basically saying that 90%, as in high concentration, right? 90% of the people who live in these areas are Republican, they're wealthy, and they rejected Trump, right? I can go with that, right? But 90% of what? 90% of what? What would you rather have? 90% of $1,000 or 10% of $1 million? Give me 10% of $1 million, right? Like until you give me the other half of that equation, I have no idea what you're talking about. Like I cannot get there. I cannot emphasize this enough. I just cannot get there with what I read.
Can you give me an analogy about the 90%? I'm losing you a little bit. I want to make sure.
If you give me high concentrations, you're basically saying that it is really high, not high turnout, high defection, right? Yes. High defection does not equal high turnout. Right. If if the slate of people that we're talking about is 70 something, they talking about like 70 some thousand people, right?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
The max number is
70,000 people, 69,000 vote. They're saying so 69,000
how many people
plus
are in that high affluent area? If that number is only like 5,000 people, we are talking about nothing.
Yeah.
You can say 90% of the 5,000 people defected. You can say that in high concentrations, but it's only 5,000 people. There's another 65,000 people somewhere else that will completely obliterate the argument. Right?
So
I don't know what that.
They only did data on 5,000 people is what they're showing.
Well, we don't know. That's what I'm saying. Like I gotta guess. The problem is that I have to guess. Let me try it this way. Right. The question I asked was, would you just for a lay person, like don't think about money, right? Would you rather have 90% of $1,000 or 10% of $1 million?
10% of $1 million.
Right. So if you're telling me that it's 90% of some unknown number, then I'm like, well, that I ain't ready to bet on that number yet because I don't know how many people you're talking about. If you're saying that it's a lot of people, you basically say in Benny's neighborhood, everybody who's a Republican hated Trump and they like Biden. I can be like, well, it's only 500 people in my neighborhood.
Gotcha.
That means absolutely nothing in the scale of the rest of these maps. So if you go in and you look at those maps without an actual number, like I'm like 50% of what, right? You have to ask that basic question. So I can't even get to, the rest of the argument because I don't know how many people we're talking about. Right. So you didn't give me the slice that we were about to deal with because I don't know if it's significant or not. Right. The significance is missing. Right. You're not telling me that, we're dealing with 70,000 people and, 40,000 people live in affluent areas and they just rejected Trump. Because if 40,000 people did that, I don't think you're going to win. Right. I get that now. Right. But they don't give a number. I can go back and read it, but they don't get. No, it's late for me. It's like midnight, and I've been at a fundraiser all day, so I might be a little wired, but a little raw. Let me just say it that way. But I can't get there.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying now. So let me we don't have to read the rest of the article because I think they go on to talk about a little bit more about like, 6.3% of Republicans
63%
rejected Trump.
Yeah, 63% of how many?
6.3. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It really, it's kind of wishy-washy. So what could be the three, what could be some of the things that happen? Like, in other words, let's say for argument's sake, there are 69,000 people who voted down ballot Republicans,
right?
But didn't vote for Donald Trump at the top of the ticket. They said the same number. It was like 23,000, I think, did the same thing for Biden. But historically, that's usually the opposite way around, right? Like, I think Democrats tend to be a little bit more independent minded, might not vote for the top of the ticket. But what you said to me before is like, Republicans, they tend to do that. They tend to get more in line, vote Republicans down the way. And you say, if you vote for the top of the ticket, you're also talking about the senator, like, right? You give me the senator too.
Yeah. So the basis of an audit is to just seek out to document what happened. That's all an audit is supposed to do. Right.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to prove a theory or disprove a theory. It's supposed to say, given some conceptual or a set of procedures, we can reach an outcome if we evaluate these measures. Right. That's all an audit is supposed to be. So we shouldn't be begging for audits. We should expect audits, right? You should literally expect audits. You shouldn't be fighting for an audit. You should just expect one. So that's the premise that I'm gonna lay the rest out. From that, you should be able to prove, disprove, confirm, or reject any hypothesis you give the audit. So let's go here. Let's start with the Democrats and give some subjectivity. So let's say Democrats say, well, we think Biden won by more than that, right? You could go and look at those. Again, not to cast for a record. I would be trying to get to the ballot images and final case, if necessary, back to the actual ballots. Yeah. Let's go and see, if we look at this, which is basically recounting it, is that true? If it comes out and we believe that the images are prima facie evidence and they're what you have for the election, right? That is going to disprove somebody making that claim, right? Let's say that people say, well, the Republicans, since they control the House, they gave the shingles of the roof to the Democrat president and the senator, and they literally took the whole House beneath it. And they stole every other race. What happened? They injected 70,000 ballots that basically screwed Trump or benefited Biden or was in fact true, but then they stole everything beneath it. An audit will go and say, well, this is not true or true. Based on, right. Then you can go one step further and say, well, we believe that all races need to be looked at. The audit can go and look at that. Now let's be Republicans. The Democrats stole the top 2 seats for themselves, and they didn't care about the whole money machine, which would be the House beneath it. You can go back and prove that. You can make the theory that Republicans didn't care about the top 2 seats. Why? Because they're about to do redistricting for the next 10 years.
They own the base of the House.
They own the base. They control all the money that's going to hit the state. This is the second largest county in the continental U.S.
Yeah. Man, Republicans
argue that they don't even care about the top 2 seats, because if they wanted to get a bunch of foolish Democrats to shut down their audit and basically crash the House down on top of fraud, this would be the way to do it. Make them chase after the top 2 seat to prove that what you gave them was actually what you didn't care about this time, and they basically collapse everything on top of some. This would be some white collar. This would be white collar crime. But these are all theories, right? An audit can go back, and the audit isn't being subjective. The audit is basically just going through and say, well, no, not really. You could even make the argument with redistricting, with the amount of appropriations that's going to flow through. They can basically draw the district lines to favor themselves. You could argue that the Republicans did this to cement it, because you can say, well, they already control the state legislature. I don't know how it is in Arizona, but they could technically be the people counting the votes. You can make a lot of arguments, and the cast vote record isn't going to.
It's not going to show you anything. Yeah,
it's not going to answer any of those things.
Well,
right?
here's the thing. Let's say 69,000 ballots, right? There's what, according to this article, according to the data, 69,000 ballots came in, Republican down ticket, didn't vote for Trump at the top. There are ways that could happen. Number one, which would be try to get by Bennie Smith in the program, and it's the flipping mechanism that wouldn't give Donald Trump the counts because of the software, right? Like, let's say there were 69,000 down ballot votes that went in for Donald Trump. They can literally remove them through the software so they're not counted, correct?
Yeah. Also, we should be able to know what days those ballots came in. Did they come in sequentially?
Yeah. Right. We talked about this, right? Okay. So that's one way. Number two, they could have filled out a bunch of ballots they got from Runbeck or wherever. So it could be clustering, which is something that I think Bill Benny talked about, is when you get actual ballots, you have ballot harvesting, whatever the case may be. I don't know. Arizona, I don't think it's legal. I got to check. But even still, you got ballots into actual ballots that were in that didn't have Donald Trump's name in. With an audit, the only way you find that out is if you go back and you compare those votes to the poll booklets and make sure those people actually cast those votes, right? So that's the second theory. If that was true, if it was clustered, how do you go back and catch that? Yeah. That's the second theory.
Yeah.
So, is there a third theory, a way this could have happened that I missed? It's either a computer flip or a cluster with ballots. How's there another way this could happen?
Well, this would make the case to make sure that they fold it. Like this, the talk about bamboo, like my son, he loves panda, man. I'm like, look, let's just bring some pandas in here. If they start eating the paper, we got them, right? Let's just put the let's put the bamboo. Like the audit should not care about somebody believing about bamboos. It is not improper to say, let's make sure they will fold it. It's just not improper. Like one thing Ken Bennett said, he did this presentation, you should get him to do it. It's called the Arizona Shire. And he basically said what was happening, right? There are some real concerns I have about the audit. Like I ain't even talked about those. There are some real concerns, but it's not the part that I see that Ken Bennett is doing, right? He's literally saying, let's document and collect data on what we saw or what is here from what happened on election night, right? That's really the exercise. They're not making any decisions. They're counting, they're using pretty good procedures. I could make some, I made recommendations. I think they took some of them. I don't know. You could have gotten the count out quicker, but you saw that they were able to finish because they retooled. They went back, and that's what happens in in major corporations.
Let's get more bodies in there.
You do something and figure out it ain't working. You go retool and you bring it back, right? So you have those elements at play, but you got all of this high definition camera that's recording everything in like 5K. The real concern is they got look on the cameras, like they got a black box that's like 10 feet tall by 10 feet wide by 4 feet thick. And it's got a petabyte of brand new originated images. This is not anything that's backed up by the 22-month statutes. These are all new. I mean, you could technically use AI and recount the election. They got this lazy Susan spinning around, and they got a high two 4K 5K cameras shooting down from the top like you're watching a casino match on ESPN, and one right at the ballot. That's technically can string all that imaging together and use it and make an AI tool on Amazon Web Services.
But didn't they work backwards, Vinny? And they should have looked at the original fucking images right away. First, I don't. I mean, if you were right, I mean, I appreciate that they're doing this, and I love the fact, and I've given them hats off, Ken Bennett, for doing whatever they put in front of him. But the actual, and this is the thing, the actual counting of this audit should have started off. I'm sorry if anybody gets mad. Breaky was right. Look at the original fucking images first, and then go from there, because that's what's being counted.
John's spot on, right? But I think Ken Bennett actually reached out to John Breaky, right? So Ken is the liaison. He didn't hire these people, right? Like I've been able to speak with Ken I like Ken. I think he's one of these guys like me is on the oath, right? He's a former Secretary of State. He's taking that oath seriously, and he's trying to be as honest and forthright from everything that I knew in my interactions with him. And I've spoken to him a couple of times since I've been back in Memphis. He's trying to conduct as honest with what he has. But what's on the floor, what's on the floor is not. You go for the images, right? You go and you count the images, and the images tell you whether or not you need to do something on the floor.
Yeah, they'll actually point you in the right direction, save you a lot of time. Hey, but listen, they got every single ballot now. They can have new images. They can do that. Eventually, they get the old images, and they can find out what's what. I mean, I'm still kind of curious about the ballot authentication process. You know what I'm saying? Mark Fincham, who I interviewed, who was one of the guys who kind of pushed for this, who had the first hearings when Giuliani and Sidney Powell came into town. He is running for Secretary of State against Katie Hobbs. He's taking the information and taking it to the next step. Like he heard that whole, remember when we talked about, hammer and scorecard? I'm like, oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
Bennie Smith called that fraction magic about 6 years ago. Welcome to the party. Maybe even longer than that. But the whole a theory or conspiracy theory that said, Donald Trump had all the ballots watermarked and whatnot. Well, Fincham's like, I don't know
Executive
if I believe in
order.
that. Yeah. How about we watermark them for the future is what he's saying. Take a look now. And I think it's great because he's taking that whole theory, that conspiracy theory, and putting it into play for the future. It says, I don't know if that happened then, but in the future, if it costs us a quarter a ballot. But just saying that, do you think they're going to be able to authenticate these ballots here in Arizona from what you've seen or what you heard? Because I haven't heard a lot of scuttlebutt about that, which is an old Navy term for like kind of rumors and stuff. I mean, are they going to be able to tell that these ballots came from maybe Kinko or Runbeck? So
I'm square in the middle of that. I say yes and I say no at the same time, and I don't know which one wins. But here's why. Right, I'm gonna put my election official hat on. I got the luxury of being a software person and an election official. There should be a certified printer from the state that prints off a certain number of ballots, and you should know how many there are. Right, and there should be a strict chain of custody to know how many you sent out and who you sent them to, how many you received, and how many you spoiled. Right. Yeah. There should be a strict mathematical operation to figure out just think about it. If I had $1,000 in the bank and I was overdraft by $100, somebody tried to get $1,100 out the bank, right? That's just as clear as you can get it because they took my 1,000 and they wanted 100 more, right? So that should work. It's a basic accounting exercise. It should work exactly like that. I don't think that has happened anywhere where I've seen it. It certainly doesn't happen here in Shelby County. I literally hammer as an election commissioner, like, why don't you tell me how many you sent out? And they go, we don't know how many. Well, how do you not know how many? Like, how many do you got left? And then I can tell you how many there were.
In Georgia, they were printing test ballots on the same fucking paper that can be counted in the tabulation machines. We have witnesses to that. And when I tell people, like, guys, how can you even say this audit is this election's legit? I literally have a witness that says that they were printing out test ballots on the same paper as the regular ballots. And then one of the ladies who was part of the recount was like, they look like a bunch of computer imaged marked ballots with no folds and pristines. And once again, it's like, oh, well, maybe those were the test ballots. Because guess what? There was no chain of custody of how many.
That chain of custody is
custody, how many were destroyed. This woman was taking them. She took like a stack this big. She goes, oh, hell no. And she's destroying them herself because she doesn't want them in circulation. But yet people can think that's an okay election.
That's right. See, that's the no part, right? To me, the chain of custody is so important. Tim Canova in Florida, he's got like a video on Twitter. We see like a rental truck full of ballots. Like, what is that? Right? It's
and one person in the car dropping off the ballots.
Yeah, it's not chain of custody. Yeah. So for this audit, right? Like, it is not an audit until you look at the ballot images.
Yeah. Well,
it's not an audit until you.
Well, Bennie Smith, this information from this article, thumbs up, thumbs down. Is it real or is it full of shit? Your opinion.
I'm like this. I'm not all the way down because they are saying some not valuable. They are saying what they say is valid. It is woefully incomplete for my liking. But I am a tech guy, so if somebody wants to consume 160 bytes of data or 160 characters, knock yourself up or out. whichever one you like for that one.
Well,
it's not good for me.
Yeah. It's nothing new. It's nothing new.
And the other piece, it completely is a slap in the face to Clear Ballot, in my opinion, from former employees who basically says, you don't need to charge Maricopa $400,000. Why don't we just take the cast vote records and give everybody their assurances?
Yeah.
That's
well, thank you, Bennie Smith, for joining us. We do appreciate it. Come back soon. I look forward to seeing you somewhere out on the road, out on the trail.
Yeah,
Maybe
man, I missed you.
Tennessee and have some fun, baby.
I missed you in Arizona. We missed each other by a few days.
We'll get caught up soon. Say hi to everybody out there. I hope
I'm going to
got
bed.
your wife a new hat.
I'm going to bed.
Good night, buddy. Thanks for staying up late for us. Bye-bye.
Okay.